So this is just a concept to help you understand like the higher dimensions, the higher realities, right? You got to understand the dimensions of the mind, right? Because our mind is broader than just the world we are brought up in. It's broader than just the brain. It's broader than just 3D reality. Because we can go up, down, left, right, forward, and back. We don't see back. We only see forward. We don't see back because we're experiencing a dimension of time. So there's a flip there. Up, down, left, right, forward, and past. And I say past because when we look out into the world, everything we're seeing is a millisecond in the past, but there's, we can sit there and argue that, because depending on if you have intention, it might be a millisecond in the future, but it's a millisecond nonetheless of a direction in time. When we look out into the past. Our memories are in the past, physically, in the physical, right? But in the higher realms, we can see into the future, so to speak. That's manifestation, because everything physical, the real, the manifest, is the past. You think of it: imagination, action, realization or real, and manifest. The manifestation is sort of like the history, the manifest, everything that has happened, everything that has been verified existed in physical world. The real world would be now. That is the right now. That is the now. That's the realization, or the real world. This is the world you experience, and realization is just when that's you realize something when it happens in the moment, right? And then so also realization or realizes is like the final purchase of exchange, which is crazy too, because it's like it's the actual purchase of getting whatever it is you're getting. It's not a coincidence that they put these words together. But the other two words, the action and the imagination, would be more in the future, so to speak. Because the imagined world, if you have the imagination, is just the world of images. Just images. So you might have a cat, dog, bird, whatever, in the imagination. These are the images of light. It's just pure light. Obviously, there's an observer. In science, you have to have an observer. Quantum mechanics. Anyone who knows anything about quantum mechanics. But all these things are observed, right? You could be the observer, God could be the observer. Doesn't matter. But when these images, depending on the observer, begin to take, action, right? They start to move. So there's imagination, action, real, manifest. So the images begin to move. They take action. They're in the world of action. They are in the mode now of direction and momentum, velocity. They are now gaining energy, potential energy, right? All this potential energy is stored in the observation, the observer, but becomes in motion. It becomes kinetic once it's observed. So these images can be put into motion, gaining energy, and when they gain enough energy, they can solidify into mass, which we call the realization. And image, action, or act, that's the root word. Image, imagination. Act, action, or actualization. Real, realization. Man, manifest. The image taking action in the real world, seen by the observer, which is the man. Image, act, real, man. Take the root words, and the words will really help you find a lot of. The power is in the tongue. The power is in the word. Like it's not a joke. It's really not a joke, and it's crazy how deep some of this goes when you actually know the definitions of some of these words. But that's important to know, because the real is what you're experiencing now. That's the 3D. The manifest is that other dimension going to the past, right? Because you can only see forward. But they flip it. There's a flip. So you're still seeing the past behind you in your memories, right? But when you do this, it allows you to experience time. So now you can project into the future. And this is where you sort of walk through the gates of the gates of hell, or walk through the gates of death, right? It's like the doorway to death. It's the doorway to time. You know what I'm saying? You know, all the little things they call it. They call it that because, you know, when we're living in our 3D reality and we're only seeing the real world, at first we were all manifest. And then we became real. And then once we became real, we could start taking action. And action led us to be able to, you know, learn. Because once you start taking action, you start moving, you start getting in motion, and then you can start focusing on something that hasn't happened yet, because you're getting into the habit of predicting. This is the start of the fourth dimension. It's the ability to see into the future. So the 4D, you know, nothing can exist in 3D space without existing in time, right? If I exist here at this place right now, when was I there? If you don't have a time, I was there. If there was no time I was there, it doesn't matter if you don't know it. If there was no time that I was actually there, it was just imaginary. It wasn't real, right? Or if there's a time I existed, but there's not a place for it, that's also imaginary. It's not real. Gotta have a time and a place. So when you have the time, that's the start. I exist here at this point at this time. You can look into the future, right, of what you intend to be. Or you can look at something as it is now and see where it can be in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 years, whatever amount of time you want to put on it, however far into the future you want to look. And you can see where you want it to be. You know what I'm saying? Not just necessarily where it could be. You now see where you could want it to be. That's where the ego started to develop, because that's the first separation. This is what it is. This is what it can be. This is what I want it to be. This is what it is right now. And this image and this image simultaneously is separation. This is the start of the ego, right? Think beyond the environment. It's the ability to think, you know, your environment no longer has more mental power over you. You have more mental power over your environment, because mentally at this point, up until this point, you're moving off kinetic energy. You're moving off pure conformity to the point where everything's black. You know, like the subconscious, right? It's just pure cause and effect. You know, mechanical. You're not sentient. But once you can do this and see with intention into the future, that fourth dimension, you have opened up the gate. And there's levels to it. You can obviously see a couple minutes into the future, a couple hours or whatever. When they started, the first people that really probably hit sentience were the ones that could see so far into the future that they could see death. That was the real hard hitter where we're going to die. We can talk about the other stuff another day. That you can see into the future, though, when you're manifesting what you want to be, where you are now, perfect path along there. If everything goes according to plan, right? And if you do everything you're supposed to do, everything you think you're going to do, right? These are the plans we put in our head, like, oh yeah, I can do this. You see yourself being this, and then you're like, you see this perfect plan going there, oh yeah, I can do this. That's the start. That's the ego, right? Because you think everything's going to go your way, and everything, you know, you're going to fight tooth and nail to make sure it sticks to this perfect plan. But, you know, this was what most humans were at the beginning when they became sentient. It was the ability to make, you know, moves about the future and plan for the future, to take over a room, right? To take over an environment, because you can see where things are going to be in an environment. But after a while, you realize things don't go according to plan. So what happens is you see where you want to be and where you are, and then you start looking at the different possibilities, snaking your way there. It could go this way, it could go this way, go this way. And it's putting that all into one dimension. I see where I want to be. I see where I am. I see the perfect path, but I also see all the possible ways it can change and adapt. Well, you might not see all of them, but the more of them, the better, right? You want to broaden your 5 dimension. You want to broaden your 4D by being able to look deeper into the future with more detail, right? I see myself now. I see myself in 5 minutes. Okay, cool. I see myself now. I see myself in an hour. I see myself in a day, in a week, in a year, 10 years. That's stretching the 4th dimension. Stretching the 5th dimension is once you see the point at where you want to be in time in the future of what you want to be, you see the wider range of possibilities. It could be this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this, all the possible ways, and being able to know, okay, this is more the realistic way to get there. The real way. It's not just the perfect action or the perfect imaginary action. It's real, right? Because it's all the possible nows you can experience, as many as you can comprehend. So that's the 50. When they're talking about 5D Earth, they're talking about being able to visualize the version of themselves they want to be and the realistic paths and, how those paths will change to get there. The 60 is seeing different possibilities of who you could be. In Kabbalah, they call it that. So I could see myself doing that or that or that with all the possible routes to get there. Deciding what I want to be, I could be this, or this. I could be that, or that. That's why they call it that in Kabbalah. It's that. It's the 6th dimension. I could be the basketball player, the football player, the hockey player. So I see myself as these different versions of me. And I also see the perfect paths to each one. And I also see how them paths can sway. And, I can start to look at, okay, I like football better, but basketball's got a better path, but I'm better at hockey. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can now start to make these type of decisions. It's not just, I like this, and I'm going to try to do this, and I'm going to follow this perfect path, and that's not going to get you far, buddy. Like, especially if you're looking deep into the future, if you're looking like 10 years, 20 years, that's over with. That's not going to work. You want to be able to look at these, at least the 5D, 60 especially, because then you can start to look at what would actually be the best thing for you. Maybe it's not being an athlete. Maybe it's being this or that or that. But when you can see all the possible things you could be, all the possible paths, realistically, of how you can get there, you find the perfect version of yourself. That is the 7th dimension. That is the 7D mind. That is the Christ, right? That is the best possible version of you from this moment to this moment in the future. And you see the best possible version of what that is that you would be. Like, what would you embody? And you have to embody something. It's like, it's like to get to this level, you have to find something you want to be good at. You know what I'm saying? It's not enough just to survive. You have to actually have something you want to be good at. You have to have something you value, because now you can see the best possible version of you and what you would be doing. The best possible version of you would be the football player taking this path and being able to adapt in this type of way. But you also are aware that if this goes wrong over here, you can switch to basketball before you get to high school or something like that. It's an actual intricate map, perfectly aligned to you. But you have to one, be able to just see beyond just looking at you now and where you can be. You got to be able to see other things in the environment as well. And the more accurately you can process these things, the more accurately you could predict these things and manifest these things, because you see how the overall motion of the environment, of the world, of society is going. You got to move in rhythm with the universe, in rhythm with nature, in rhythm with God, in harmony with God, in harmony with the universe. You got to find ways to move with it. You got to move with the current, not against it. So that's how you get to the seventh dimension of you, which is the Christ. The Christ version of you is the best possible version of you. That's the seventh dimension. The sixth dimension is that thing that you like, that you become good at, that you just value, whatever it is, that thing about you that makes you you. Like, okay, you're going to recognize him by that type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get it, you get it. 5D is just being able to see realistically the best way to get to a specific goal. And the 4D is just the ego, right? That is just seeing a goal. That is just seeing a goal, and this is what I want to do. You're not necessarily looking at the best possible way to get there. So you're looking at the perfect way and what you want to be. But that's the entry into the higher realms. You got to start with the ego. You have to learn how to deal with it and move with it accurately. And from then on out, you can expand your ego into, possibility. This is like the ego death, where you let the imaginary ego die to expand, to see possible other ways. And the trick is to be able to see all of this while you're still experiencing life. So you're sitting here going through your life, and you can create this big vision and hold it and maintain it and let it solidify enough to be like, okay, this is what I want to do. And when you can do that, especially on the seventh dimension, you are an actual true manifester. You can take on whatever type of persona. You're prepared for whatever type of situation. You just move different. People will sense it about you. Because now you have a consciousness that's like on the scale of the world itself. You could literally process different perspectives, multiple perspectives, a lot of perspectives, all interacting in different ways, and figure out how to navigate that. Because collectively, that is sort of God. Not necessarily God, but that is sort of God. That is the Son of God. All that collectively. And when you're able to do that, you are a son of God, right? All men collectively working together as one thing. The Son of God. This is why Jesus was the Son of Man, because he was the perfect version, the average in between everybody. If you take everybody together and put them into an average of what a perfect person would be, that would be Jesus. That would be a Christ-like being. That doesn't make you God. It's a son of God. But it's the start, seventh, sixth and seventh is like kind of the start of being immortalized. Eighth is eternal. You could say from a human perspective, it could be eternal. So that's just understanding them dimensions. 4D is the ego, time, being able to see what you want to do. 5D is all the possible ways you can get there. So it's being able to, it's the start of thinking critically. There's a lot of people on the planet that's there, but there's a lot of people that's not right now. 6D is, okay, not only can you think critically, you've chosen one, what you like to do, that thing about you. You've chosen yourself and became something unique, right? You have something about you. You have something you're good at, very good at. You might be an expert. You might be a pro. And seventh is just something not only you're good at, but it's the thing, if you would have chose anything between this, and this, it's the best thing you could have chosen out of all the things you could have chosen, and you're good at it. And you can understand all the different routes to get there, and you can still adapt if you need to. That's the start of 7. That's the start of really becoming eternal.